Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Fulham family, depending on where you are watching from. I hope you're all well. I am Dan Cooke, and I'll be taking the quick take duties on today after our 1-1 draw in South North, and Barnsley certainly had a trailing wind behind them in the form of Tim Robinson, the referee. But Harry Wilson's curler in the 86th minute rescued a point for the Whites on what was a tricky trip up north. I think there's only one place to start, and I think it's the thing that not just the Fulham community is speaking about, but the wider EFL community, and it is the penalty. It's the only place we can start, and I think we've all seen it. It's a terrible decision from Tim Robinson, something we have come accustomed to with him as a referee, I think. And it's not even just the penalty decision from it with itself. If we pull it back when Tosin loses the ball on the halfway line, we can clearly see here Carlton Morris is all over Tosin, is ripping his shirt off his back. Yes, you can criticise Tosin in that moment for holding onto the ball for too long, but really, that has to be a foul from the very start. And then a few moments later, we end up in our own area and Carlton Morris just slips. There's no two ways about it. There's no contact from Tosin. You can see from his reaction, he cannot believe that was given as a penalty. And after what was a pretty turgid first half, I would say, from Fulham, we struggled to create chances. It was a terrible way to go in at the break. We had to pick ourselves up, and clearly changes were needed. I think if we go back to before that penalty, I thought Fulham were okay in parts. I think we created a couple of nearly moments without really creating a clear-cut chance. I thought at the very beginning, Anthony Robinson looked very, very dangerous. I thought it was one of his better performances recently. I think he's had a lull, but his early threats with his pace, and also he played a lovely ball down the line to Bobby De Cordova-Reid early on. I thought he was probably one of our biggest threats in that first half. But we clearly were too slow on the ball. We struggled with Barnsley's press. And I think if it wasn't for Tim Ream, we could have been 2-0 down at halftime. And then suddenly we were in big danger. Fantastic bit of defending from our American hero at the back, clearing off the line. From down at the other end at Oakwell, it looked very hairy. I would look straight to the referee after Tim Ream cleared that one off the line. It was impossible to see from where we were if that had gone over the line or not. And he did brilliantly to keep it out. And he took a knock in the process. His first of two knocks, with the second one, the head collision. If you hop on over to his Instagram, if you are of that persuasion, you can see the gash across his eyebrow that he received from his head collision with Domingos Quina. It was quite a gruesome one, but heroic moment from our captain on the day. And he really kept us in the game at that point, because I think 2-0 down with a buoyant Barnsley crowd behind them, I think we would have struggled to come back from that one. I think another thing that was coming through on our Telegram, which please feel free to join the community. We're having a great time over there. Was that in the first half, it wasn't the game for Jean-Michel Seri yesterday. He's been, I think, very good recently. It's nice that he's back from AFCON. He's finally settled back into the team. However, this felt like a game that slightly passed him by. It was a very high energy, pressing Barnsley team. You know what to expect. They're scrapping for their lives down at the bottom of the Championship. And so in that moment, across that first half, it just felt like their counterattacks were flooding past him. He was a passenger out when we were out of possession, and it just didn't feel like the game for him. And I think that was a big change in the second half, and the right one from Marco Silva was that we saw Jean-Michel Seri coming off and TC, Tom Cairney, coming back into the side after his illness. And I think the game did change in that moment. We saw Harrison Reed sit a little bit deeper. It gave us a little bit more stability. And I think from very early on, Tom Cairney showed what he can bring to this Fulham team in terms of his intent, his ability to pick out those intricate passes, to get out of tight situations. I thought Tom did really well when he came on. And we just looked at that a little bit better in that second half and a little bit more stable. From there, I think one of the frustrating things, and Marco Silva touched upon it, was that we just were a bit wasteful in front of goal. It feels harsh to criticise a team who yesterday notched up their 90th goal of the season. Clearly, we are pretty potent in front of goal, but there were chances for both Fabio Carvalho, for Bobby De Cordova-Reid, who blazed over from just within the area. And I think those were two good chances that we created, and the game could have been a little bit different, and maybe we could have found ourselves 3 points yesterday if we had just been a little bit more composed in front of goal. However, it is one point that has to be made, and was made by both Marco Silva and I believe the pundits on Sky, that the pitch that we were playing on up in South Yorkshire was definitely subpar. The grass looked very long. It was very bobbly. Apparently, it was very dry, clearly intentional. I think you have to say, from the Barnsley groundsman, clearly under orders from the manager, I would imagine, just to make it as hard as possible for our boys. And I think in those moments, those fine margins, as a former manager might say, it just cost us in the shooting department. However, one thing that we have not been able to say many times this season, and it was nice to see, was that it was a moment of brilliance that dug us out yesterday from our Welsh wizard, Harry Wilson. It looked like the game was getting away from us. It started to get a bit tense. It started to get a bit frantic. Barnsley were dropping deeper and deeper and deeper. And then suddenly, the ball arrives to Harry Wilson out on the right. He takes a touch, he gets it out of his feet, and he curls one into the top corner. It was an absolute beauty. He showed his class in that moment, Harry Wilson. Brad Collins in goal had no chance. And I think it's definitely a goal that we deserved. And it is nice to see Harry Wilson continuing the fantastic form that he's been in recently, notching up goals and assists for this Fulham team. He's had a great debut season, and it's been fantastic to see. However, as we snatched a draw from what looked like it was going to be no points, we then suddenly had the chance to go 2-1 up in added time, and we can have a look at it here. And it's a really, really tough one, because Harry Wilson pops up at the back post after his moment of brilliance. He's 6 yards out. The goal is gaping, and he somehow manages to head it wide. And he and all of the Fulham fans are both at home and at the ground, I think, were speechless in that moment. All I could do was have a little laugh, a little chuckle to myself, because that is the EFL. That is the Championship. Moments like that, where players whip out a moment of brilliance, and suddenly 2 minutes later, missing a chance like that could have given us the 3 points. It's a really tough one. And I was gutted for Harry Wilson, because he deserved that second goal there for dragging us back into that position. One thing that I think may go unnoticed and unspoken, because the miss came immediately after it, was that Rodrigo Muniz is definitely fouled in the build-up to that in the area. It's, as we see here, I'll bring the comment up now from Red, pen shout for Muniz, definitely. I think if you look at the decision that was given for Carlton Morris, which the referee's clearly seen something that didn't happen. Whereas in this moment, I've watched it back several times, and the Barnsley defender basically sits on Rodrigo Muniz's leg, on the back of his calf. And in that moment, he's clearly fouling Rodrigo Muniz. Whether it's intentional or not doesn't matter. He has fouled him. And I don't know what the referee has seen or hasn't seen in that moment not to give it. And so I think, despite the miss for Harry Wilson, I don't think that moment should even come about, because I think that's just a Stonewall penalty. It just shows that the variable standard of refereeing in this league. And I have personal gripes. Those who are on the Telegram will know, with Tim Robinson. He is by far my most hated referee. But yeah, these are the games. And I think it's important that, with all the stuff that didn't go for us, we've still managed to come out with a point. Got George Cooper here with a comment. Do you think this draw could stunt our momentum? Well, it's an interesting one, because we've been on fantastic form. I think there have been murmurings previously, before the Swansea game, and even in the first half against Swansea, that we've not maybe been at our best, our free-flowing best. However, if we look at the Championship table, we are sitting top very comfortably still. We sit 12 points clear of Bournemouth, and astonishingly, we sit 14 points clear still of Huddersfield with a game in hand. I don't think that this is something that will stop the HMS from ploughing its way through into the Premier League. I think that we've got a moment on Tuesday to put the Barnsley game right against Baggies, against West Brom, and then we get a nice 2.5 week break. I think the players looked a little bit tired yesterday, so the opportunity just to recover after we go up to the Midlands is a great chance for us to regroup and then finish our promotion charge. If we have a look at Cottage Analytica, Chris Frank over on Twitter, he sums it up perfectly. An update on our progress of how we can mathematically secure promotion. That points that has been required has reduced from 17 to 14 because it was only really Bournemouth yesterday who picked up the win that will threaten our automatic promotion charge. Points required to win the Championship drops from 26 to 25 with that point. We're getting ever closer, and hopefully on Tuesday night we can put this game right. We can get back to winning ways, and we can go into the international break happy Fulham fans. We see here from Colin Bugler, I think we need at least 3 wins for promotion and 5 for champions. I think that's right. I think all the numbers we're looking at, it's important to remember that these are the worst case scenario where all of the teams around us pick up maximum points. That is not going to happen. For a start, Huddersfield are playing Bournemouth very shortly in the league, the weekend that we have a break. So I think that it's definitely not that many points that we need because other teams are going to trip up. We know that we are the best team in this league. And I think that it's only a matter of time until we are saying when we're in the Premier League and not if. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me on the quick take today. Sorry that it's not Sammy, but he is enjoying himself skiing on the slopes. It's all right for some. But please have a good weekend and come on, you Whites.